Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. And Halloween and Day of the Dead are right around the corner. So I'm going to take advantage of that because I very rarely do Halloween. I did it last year. It was kind of fun. So I'm going to do it again this year. So we're going to make a couple of things, possibly three. Let's see how it goes. And it's not going to take anything. Well, it's a couple of little special things, but it's going to be one of those things that you can kind of tailor to your own specifications, except for the one that has the little skull. Everything else can be tailored. But we're going to go ahead and get started. You don't need any special tools, just your usuals, your round nose pliers. Both barrels are round all the way around and tapered to the tip, a little smaller towards the tip. And then you've got your square nose pliers that are slightly round on the outside and flat on the inside. And you have your cutters. You can use this kind of flush cutter, or you can use this kind of cutter. Either one works. They both do the same thing. So it's entirely up to you which one you want to use. We're going to be using 20 gauge wire all the way through, except for one little piece of 24 gauge wire that we will be using in a way that I will show you in a few minutes if we get to that one, because that's number 3. So let's go ahead and get down here and get started because I'm a little anxious to do this one. It's going to be fun. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is take this lovely skull and make it into a little pendant. Isn't that neat? I'm not sure which way this shows up on camera. I'm going to show it both ways. So there's my little skull. It's not so little, really. It's a good half an inch from the head to the chin. Show it this way in case that's right side up. And we're going to take that and make a little top hat. And when I say make, I mean we're going to make the brim. Now I've seen those little wavy flat disc things that you could use to make a hat. But I thought it would be really neat if we made our own brim out of wire. And I puzzled and puzzled. I looked to see if anybody had done it. Couldn't see anything where anybody had done it. So I just came up with my own little idea of how to make a brim for a top hat. And let's just try it out, shall we? Okay, the first thing that I need is a piece of 20 gauge wire. I've got 8 inches here, and it depends on, well, not quite eight inches, but I'd say 8 inches. And it just depends on how big you want your brim to be. When I was saying that I had those little wavy things that you could use for the brim, I meant these little guys right here. They look really neat as the brim of a hat. Isn't that neat? Anyway, we're not using that. We're making our own. So 8 inches of 20 gauge wire, and we're going to make a spiral. So I'm going to start with my round nose pliers and just grab the tip of the wire with the tip of my pliers. This is probably the most challenging part, is to make sure that the wire does not pop out from in between your pliers. So I'm going to grab that wire with the pliers, make sure nothing's sticking out the back because I want a nice round center. And I also don't want it to be too big. I want the tiniest of loops that I can make. So I'm going to twist my wrist with the wire in it to start my rotation. Then I'm going to open my pliers without moving the wire. I'm going to give it another twist, and I'm going to keep doing that until I have a circle or a loop. Get back in there. Just keep doing that until I have a teeny tiny little loop. Okay, so there's my center. I'm going to keep going a little bit more until I have 2 wires side by side wrapped around each other. And then I'm going to switch to my square pliers. And I'm going to grasp the back of the wire. And by back, I mean back here behind the little loop, back here where the long stem of wire is protruding. I'm going to go back there, and I'm going to start making a spiral. Now you can do this a couple of ways. You can either twist your wrist to wrap that wire around itself, or you can hold your wrist and your flat nose pliers steady and push the wire around. Just open and close the pliers around the wire and push the wire around the coiled wire, and you're just wrapping it around itself, just like that. Or you can do a combination of both. You can twist your wrist and push the wire at the same time. Whatever works best for you, because we've got 3 different possibilities. Whatever works best for you is fine. There's really no wrong way to do this, as long as you get your spiral. We want it nice and tight. So I'm keeping those wraps close to each other. And you can see we're building up to a nice spiral. And I don't want it to go under or over. If you see that happening, just kind of scoot it back down until it's beside the other wires again. And just keep going, keep going, keep going until I have a nice sized brim. And you can check this. I have 8 inches, almost 8 inches of wire here. And if you see it, it looks like it's getting too big for your the little head here. You can always cut it off there. You can stop. But I'm going to keep going because I want him to have a nice big brim that he can be really cocky about wearing. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going until I run out of wire. Almost there. Oh, I got a little space there. I don't want it too far over. So I'm just going to pull the wires close to each other again. And at this point, it's big enough that I can start using my fingers if I want to wrap it. Just want to make sure that it's nice and tight. Those wires are nice and tight around each other. Now, when I get to the point where I'm almost finished, because I'm going to have this end sticking out here, and I want it to lean as closely in to the rest of the wires as possible, what I'm going to do is take my round nose pliers and put a little bend in my wire, just a little bit of a bend. Not a big bend, I just want it to be a rounded bend so that when I push it under, it conforms better. If it's sticking straight out when you try to push it under, it's just going to be sticking straight out. So that's better. So now I push that down as close as I can get to the other wires. And if you want to, you can push it a little past the wires and let it spring back into place, just so I can get it as close as I can. So that's what I have. And it's a little bit bowed, as you can see, which is fine because I'm making a top hat and I'm about to shape it anyway into a little bow. When I say bowed, I mean it has a little bit of a bowl shape. Yeah, just a little shallow bowl. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is grab my square pliers and I'm going to shape my little brim. Now you see those old 1940s movies where the guys are wearing the hat with the brim that's all cocked up on the sides. Well, that's what we're about to do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab one side of my coil, and I just want to pick up the last 3 little rows here, like that. I just want to hold on to those, and I'm going to twist. I need to hold on to the other side with my fingers, as much of it as I can grab, and then I'm going to give this side a twist, just like that, just boop. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to that, grab about 3 rungs of wire and twist it a little bit more. There we go. Then I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, just get over here, give it a good twist, so that now this is what I have. It's kind of cocked up on the side a little bit. And then if you want to be really funny about it, no, we're not making a sombrero. We're making a top hat. So we don't want to get too crazy. So let's go ahead and just keep it with that. Let's cock it up on the sides there. And then it's going to go right on his little head. Yeah. Okay. So let's put that to the side. That's going to be the brim of our hat. And I see one side looks like it's a little lower than the other. So I'm going to go down here and twist that one a little more. Okay. So there's my little brim. I'm going to put that to the side. Oh, and the rest of the hat is going to be a little block. Just a little wooden block is going to settle on top, and that's going to make my hat. The things you think of. What can I say? Then I'm going to grab another piece of 20 gauge wire to string, to make a head pin to put my skull on. So for that, what you want to do, it depends on what size your skulls are. So you want to measure your skull or take your wire and just poke it in through the little skull's head, and then you can measure that. And on one side, I'm going to need about an inch to wrap my wire. And on the other side, I'm going to need about 2 inches to make a little spiral. So whatever the length of my skull from top to chin is, plus an inch on the top and 2 inches on the bottom. So that's 3 inches. This is about half an inch, 3.5 inches. Give yourself 4 inches just to have a little playing around room. At least that's what I'm doing because that's what my measurements tell me. Half an inch on the, or an inch on the top, 2 inches on the bottom. I would actually give yourself an 1.5 inches on the top, 2 inches on the bottom for your spiral, and whatever your little skull is. So got my little inch. I'm going to give myself an 1.5 inches, and then 2 inches. That's 3.5, and then 1/2 inch for my skull. That's 4 inches, and there we go. Okay, now I'm going to make a little spiral to form the bottom of my head pin. Okay, so once again, I'm going to grab the tip of my pliers, make sure nothing's sticking out the back. And in order to kind of keep it stable, I like to rest the wire on my fingers. I feel like it gives me a little bit more control. So I've got my pliers around my wire. My wire is right firmly ensconced in between the tongs of the pliers. I'm going to give it a twist. And then I'm going to keep twisting, open, rotate back, and twist. And this looks a little bit blurry. Let's get a little closer and see if I can get this a little clearer. There we go. All right, so I'm going to rotate, open, rotate back, and open, and keep doing that until I have my loop, and that's the start of it. I'm going to continue wrapping the wire around itself. Then I'm going to stop when it gets to where I can't really do that anymore without clamping down on 2 wires. Then I'm going to switch to my square pliers and make a spiral. And the size of the spiral is up to you. Use your taste, your aesthetic, as far as how big you want your spiral to be. Basically, what I'm using that for is to hold the skull on. So you can stop at one point, put it on, see if you think that's enough before you finish it off. And I honestly think that's probably enough. That's as big as my spiral needs to be. I might give it one more little twist. That's good. That looks good to me. Mine is about a quarter of an inch, long. Okay, so now I've got my little spiral. So what I'm going to do, this is on the side and this is running up the side. I want it actually out on the top. I want it centered over my spiral. So I'm going to hold on to my spiral and I'm going to bend that tail straight out like that. So now that's what I have. And then I'm going to pop my little skull on there. And that's what it's going to look like. Yeah, that was perfect size. And so now I'm going to make the loop on the top. But first, oh, that's the other thing. You also have to add the measurement for your hat. I almost forgot that. So that's a good thing that I have a good 1.5 inches instead of the 1 to 1.5 inches that I said in the beginning, because that may not have been enough. So give yourself, those of you who get kits, give yourself a good 4.5 inches of wire to 5, if you want to, inches of wire in order to make your make your hat for your skull. Look at that. Doesn't it look like a little hat brim? Okay, I'm going to pop on my little block there and isn't that neat? We're not finished. Okay, so now, I get so carried away. So now we're going to close up our loop top. I'm going to adjust my little hat to the way it wants to look. Don't have to worry about that too much now because I can adjust it some more later. But isn't that cute? If I can get a good view of it. Isn't that neat? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I want to make sure that my spiral is in the front. And when it's a pendant, so it's going to be hanging on a chain or a cord, whatever you want to put it on. So I'm going to have my loop going front to back while my spiral is going side to side. Okay, so what I'm going to do is bend my wire at the top here. I'm going to bend it back right above my little top hat. And everything's going to be shifting around right now because nothing is anchored. So try not to get too frustrated. It's going to feel like you need 5 hands. Okay, I'm going to bend my wire back or to the front. I'm bending it towards me because that's easiest for me. Okay, and then I'm going to, and remember, this has got a really big hole in the top. What you could do is put something on it if you wanted to fill in that hole, but I'm just going to make a nice big loop, and that should take care of that. Okay, I'm going to wrap my wire over the top of my pliers like so. And then I'm going to continue bringing it around under the pliers until I have a loop. I'm going to check it out. It's kind of off to the side a little bit. So I'm just going to roll my loop until it's centered on top of my bead. And I want it nice and tight. It's rolling until it's nice and tight on top. So now I'm going to check out my hat, make sure it's sitting the way I want it. Now's the time to shape it or turn it in the direction that I want. There it is, very good. And now I can go ahead and wrap my loop. So I'm going to grab my square pliers and I'm just going to wrap the tail of my wire around just above my bead and below my loop. I want that nice and snug. I'm going to squeeze that down there. And I have a very short tail, so I'm going to wrap that around as much as I can with my fingers and then switch to my pliers and finish the wrap. Okay, just keep wrapping. And then when I can't wrap anymore, just going to push the tail down. And everything's trying to spin right now. So hold on to, if you hold on to the bottom there and anchor the wooden bead with your hand and hold on to your brim with your thumb, you should be able to push that down. Push that tail down right against the wrapped part. Nice and snug. There we go. And now I'm going to go and take a look. My little spiral's off to the side, so I'm going to twist it the way I want it to go. I'm going to turn my hat around the way I want it to go. Let's go this way so that my little end there is going towards the back. I want the little raised portion on the sides, like a top hat would have. And here we have it. Make sure that top is facing to the front to back. There we go. And there it is. Isn't that amazing? I love this. That is so awesome. Let me put on a little piece of wire so you can get a better idea of what this little guy looks like without my fingers in the way. Oh, isn't that neat? I love my little hat. I love my little brim. I like it when I invent new things. Now, watch me find where somebody else has already done this, and I'll go, doggone it. Thought I made that up. Okay. Anyway, that's number one. Let's move on because otherwise I will sit here and I'll look at this little guy forever, ever. And again, you can put this on a chain, you can put it on a cord. It's really up to you. He looks so cool. That is the coolest looking skeleton. Oh my gosh. Anyway, let's put that to the side and move on. So let's go from a skull to something else. Let's get some wicked vibes going on here. So we're going to make a magic wand. Well, wicked, Harry Potter, whatever you want to talk about. So what we're going to do is make a magic wand. And let me get set up over here. I've got everything all discombobulated. Let me go ahead and get this all cleared up so that I can make my wand. Okay, so again, I've got a piece of 20 gauge wire. I've got 12 inches, just shy of 12. I'd say give yourself a good foot of wire. And I've got this little crystal star. Isn't that cute? So what I'm going to do is thread my little star on, and you can put it on any way you want. The way mine is, it's got a little, it's drilled from the inside of two of the little points, and then there's a point at the bottom. I think I'm going to put the point at the bottom, and we're going to make earrings. Bottom, Virginia, I said bottom. We're going to make earrings out of this. I'm just going to make one because I've already made one. And but yeah, we're going to make some earrings. Okay, so I go down to the center of my wire, and right down here, I'm going where the point is. I'm going to take one of my ends of wire. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make it a little bit longer on one side because this side I'm going to be wrapping a little bit. So I'm going to just give myself about a half an inch or so more on the side that I'm about to bend up over my bead. Okay, so I'm going to bring that up over the side of my bead, like so. Okay, then I'm going to bring those two wires together, cross them over each other, like so. And then I'm going to twist. and you want to twist both wires at the same time. You want to make sure you're not twisting one wire around the other. This is called an electrician's twist. And you want to be very careful that you're twisting both of them together because it just looks better. You don't want to wrap. We're not doing a wrap, we're doing a twist. Okay, and so I'm going to keep twisting. And I find it easier to get a good twist on this if I keep these ends far apart, not too close together. Okay, keep going. And I'm matching up one I already have, so I want to make sure it's the same length. So let me measure this one. I'm going to keep going until I have an inch. That's what it was. Yes, because I'm making an earring. Just dropped it. Come back here. Come back here, little earring. Okay, so I'm making, let's see, we get an inch of wire. I just want an inch of twisted wire, not quite. Okay. And notice how I'm now holding the stem that's twisted, because if I don't, it can start to bend. And you can straighten it again, but if I hold this, then I don't have to do that extra step later. So I'm holding on to the star and that stem just to keep them in place. Twisting. Let me measure again. And I want an inch of twisted wire from the top of the star to where the wires separate. Yeah, I think I need a couple more twists, and that should do it. And measure again. Oh, you know what? I didn't even say you need a ruler. By the way, one of the things that you need is a ruler. There we go. I have an inch of twisted wire. Very good. Okay, so now I'm going to take the longest end and I'm going to make a loop. Okay, so I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. And I don't need a big loop. It's going to be for an earring, so it doesn't need to be huge. At this point, I held this well enough so that it's not all squiggly. But if you need to, just go in and start straightening out your little wire so that it's a nice straight wand. Okay, so I'm going to go in with my pliers. I'm going to go about a third of the way, no, about a quarter of the way down my pliers so that I can make a small loop. So I've grasped my wire in between the prongs of the pliers. I'm using the long end since I'm going to use that to make a loop. I'm going to bring that wire over the top of my pliers and then down the side of my wand. Then I'm going to, without moving the wand, I'm going to open my pliers up, reposition, and clamp it back down, and then bring the wire the rest of the way under my pliers, like so. And I have a loop. Yay. So now I'm going to switch to my flat pliers, and I'm going to wrap one time around the base of the loop. Then I'm going to grab my other, did I do that right? You know what? I should have gone the other way. This will work, but it would have worked better the other way. Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap the other wire around one time to meet this wire. Either way works. As long as they meet, you're good to go. So I've got both wires meeting. Check the loop, make sure it's straight on top. Right now mine is leaning a little bit, so I'm going to go back in with my straight pliers, and bend it until it's centered right on top of my little wand. Then I'm going to bring one of my wires. I'm going to bring this one since it's on the bottom. I'm just going to make a little curve. Just make a little curve. Bring it around like that. Just a little curve. And then I'm going to wrap that tail around the wand and over to the other side. Then I'm going to take the other wire and I'm going to make a little curve above the first wire. Okay. And I've got a little space in between the bottom of the curve and the wrap so that I can fit this wire in between and wrap that around and under the first wire. So now this is what I have. Okay, that's what I have. So now I'm going to take this bottom wire, which is the one I just worked with, and I'm going to make another little curve. Just curve that, bring it around, and you can curve it as much or as little as you want. Make that a little bit of the more pronounced curve. Like so. Yeah. And wrap that. Wrap that around. And follow it up with the other one. Nice little curve. And wrap that around. There we go. And now I can take these ends and cut them off because I don't need that wire. Oh, what a waste. Might be enough to do something with, who knows? So I'm going to go ahead and trim those little ends off as close as I can get to the wand. Yeah, this one's really long. I should be able to do something with it. Take my flat pliers and push down those little ends. Don't want them sticking up. Okay. That one just does not want to go down. There. And there we go. Now I'm going to adjust my little wraps to the way I want them to look. Just a little bit. And there we go. There's my little wand. Now, this little wire that's on the back of my star, that's fine. It looks okay. It doesn't look bad. Why is this one? Wow, stop that. Stop moving. Fix that so it doesn't do that. Okay. That's better. Okay. This little straight wire that's in the back of my wand, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think I would like to give it a little bit of a squiggle so it looks sort of like a little lightning bolt, right? So I'm going to go ahead and take my pliers. You can use your round pliers. You can use your square pliers, whichever one you can get a better grip with. And I'm just going to grip my wire right in the middle of my star, and I'm going to give it a twist. Just give it a little twist. So now it has a little squiggle. Just a little bit of decoration. There. Just a little bit of decoration. And there's my little magic wand. There. There it is. Boo, 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 boo. Now, and this is going to be earrings. So you would just put it on it and use the ear wire of your choice, or you could make an ear wire, entirely up to you. And I've done many, many tutorials on how to make your own ear wire. So you should easily be able to find that, or you can use a prefab one. And that's our little magic wand. I don't know why I'm getting so much blur from this camera. It doesn't want to focus. There we go. Okay, so we've got a magic wand. We've got a skull, a little skeleton in a top hat. Spectacular. Now what should we do? Do we have time to do anything else? I don't see why not. Why not? Let's do one more little thing. Let's make a hat. We're going to make a witch's hat. And I had a little drawing of my little witch's hat around here somewhere. I might have lost it. No, I didn't. Here it is. I just drew a little witch's hat on a piece of paper. It's on the back side of some instructions on how to make wrapped loops. But anyway, I just drew this very rough sketch of a witch's hat, and I'm just going to use that to make one. So I'm going to grab a piece of 20 gauge wire. How much do I need? I think I've got it written down here. Let's see, I need 12 inches of 20 gauge wire. I didn't cut it because I wasn't sure we would make it this far, and I'm probably, hopefully not going over too much, because if it's too long a video, it scares people off. Okay, so I need 12 inches wire. Yeah. Okay. 20 gauge. And now I'm just going to use this to make my little design. So I'm just going to go right here in the center of my wire and put it on the bottom here where the bottom of my brim is. Then I'm going to turn that up just like the picture. I'm going to turn that up. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Turn that little brim up. Okay, and I want this to be a little bit pointier, so I'm going to go in with the pliers and make that sharper. There we go. And then I'm going to make this part a little smaller, have a little curve in it. Yeah, that's a little smaller. I think I'll make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to straighten that out and rebend. Let's move that over and just put another bend in. So there we go. My wires are crossing over. So now what I'm going to do is bend my wire up and at an angle. Let's get over here where everybody can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to go right here about an inch over, I think is good. So I'm going to go about an inch over. I've got about 2.5 inches here at the bottom, I believe. Maybe 2.5 inches. Let's see how much I've got. I've got 2.5 inches at the bottom of my brim. So I'm going to go up about an inch on one side. And I'm going to put a bend in my wire, like so, to make 1/2. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, down an inch in. This is a witch's hat, so it does not have to be perfect. We're not doing a fashion show. So there's the other side. Ah, neato. Okay, bend that down a little more, make it a little less round. And there's the beginnings of my hat. Yeah. Yes. So now I would do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do something down here first. So what I think I'm going to do is shape this a little bit before I close it off. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze this one side, the little ends of it, a little flatter. And then the same thing on the other side. Just squeeze it a little flatter. So this is what I have now. Yeah. And then I'm going to shape this a little bit. I'm just going to go down here with my round nose pliers. Squeeze that down. And I'm going to give it a little curve, a little quarter loop. And curve that down like so. And open that back up. I'm going to go on the other side and I'm going to curve this side up. So squeeze that until it's got maybe an eighth of an inch. And then I'm going to curve that side up. And open that up. And you can see the beginnings of my little hat. Yes. And now I'm going to finish off the top. I'm going to make that a little more pronounced. There we go. Yeah. Okay, and now let's finish off my little hat. Right here, go right here at the top. And I have the top wire crossing over and the bottom wires crossing over to the other side. I'm going to twist the two together in the direction of the top that the top wire is going. So I'm going to hold on to my two wires right here where they're crossed. Hold on to the bottom, nice and snug. I'm going to give it a twist. And again, I want to make sure I'm twisting both wires, not wrapping one around the other. Give it another twist. And let's give it a third twist. And there's my hat. And now this is going to be a pendant. So I need a loop, right? Now this, it depends on how you're going to hang this. I'm going to make my loop side to side so that I can put it on a, just hang it with a jump ring. But what I'm going to do, instead of just finishing it off like this, I'm going to make a little spiral. So I just want it to have a little bit more interest. So what I'm going to do is wrap this one, I'm going to wrap the short tail around, and then I'm going to spiral the long tail. So I'm going to wrap this short tail around the long tail just to anchor it. I'm just going to give it a couple of wraps. And it doesn't have to be pretty. It's a witch's hat. So I'm going to give it a couple of wraps there, nice and messy. So it looks like a really worn hat. Then I'm going to clip off that end nice and close to the other tail. Clip that off. Push down that little tip. Then I'm going to lean it over and make a little spiral. It doesn't have to be a big spiral. So I'm going to cut this down to about an inch. That's all I need. Just enough to make a small spiral that will also service as a loop for my jump ring to put on my chain or my cord. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the tip. I'm going to make a small loop. We've done a lot of spirals today. Make a small loop, but this time I'm going to make it a loose spiral. So it's going to be a little bit more witchy looking. Okay, so I've just wrapped that around. Got a little loop, got a little spiral. And if you want more of a spiral, you can leave more wire on there. It's entirely up to you. Just enough. There we go. And I'm going to push this against the back of my long tail so that when I put it on my cord, it will stay put. And you can put your cord down here underneath where the tip of the loop is. And there's my hat. I can shape it a little bit, but I think it's missing something, don't you? Yeah, it needs a little bit of interest across the brim here. So I'm going to grab some black beads because what other color would I use? So I've got some little 4mm beads. I did not mention that at the beginning because I wasn't sure we were going to make it to the hat. And you grab a few of these beads. I did mention that we might be using some 24 gauge wire. So I'm going to take this piece of 24 gauge wire and I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch tail over here for me to hold on to. And I'm going to wrap my wire around one side here. Just give it a couple of wraps just to anchor it. Then I'm going to feed on some beads. And this is going to make the little band for my hat. We've made some really interesting hats today, huh? Okay, feed those on as many as you need to fill up your little band. Shouldn't be very many because there shouldn't be more than 3/4 of an inch to an inch. It depends on how wide you make your hat. So I've got one too many, but what I can do is open this up, or if you have not enough and you have space, you can squeeze it. I'm going to open it just a smidge. There we go. So there's my little brim. Now all I need to do is wrap that around on the other side. Just feed that through. Almost finished. Stop setting off my alarm. Okay, let's wrap that around. I just need a couple of wraps like I did on the other side. And clip that off. Push down that little tip. I don't want it to stick up and snag on anything. Okay, go to the other side and clip that off. Push that little tip down. All right, and now I'm going to make whatever adjustments I want to make. You don't want your hat to be, you want it to look a little 3D. So what I'm going to do is put a couple of little bends in it. I mean, it's a hat and it's a soft hat, so it shouldn't be straight like that. It should have some little bends. There we go. Now it looks like a hat. Yes. There it is. There's my little witch's hat. There it is. There's my little hat. I really love it. So what I'm gonna do is just let me squeeze this down a little bit more. And you just make whatever adjustments you want to make to your little hat, to your specifications until it looks the way you think it should look on Elphaba's head. My little wicked, my little wicked reference for any of those you who love my absolute favorite Broadway show of all time. There we have it. There's our little witch's hat. There's our little skull and his top hat. And there is our magic wand. I think we had a very successful tutorial today. I love all three of them. We've got two pendants and a pair of earrings. Now remember, when you make your earrings, you want them to be mirror image. And again, you can use any kind of, here's the other one. So one's going to one side and one's going to the other side. You want the mirror image not going the same direction because they're going in your opposite ears. But there they are, ladies and gents. There is our Halloween, Day of the Dead reference for this year. I hope you enjoyed it. I've enjoyed doing it. And I hope that you will make some of these lovely little things for yourself. And I hope that you have a great Halloween and a great Day of the Dead and have some wonderful, really spooky celebrations. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. And please give me some feedback. I love to hear what you have to say. I get a lot of, oh, the video is so fuzzy. I've got a new laptop and I'm going to change it, and hopefully the camera on that is a little bit better for this part of it. The hand camera that I use, it's new, so it's doing the best it can. So hopefully the sound quality, because I know I think it sounds sort of like it's in a cave, and the visual, the camera will hopefully be better with my new camera. I haven't set my new computer. I'm stopping. I have not set it up yet, but as soon as I do, I'm looking forward to using it, and hopefully everything will look a lot better. So until then, please get in contact with me if you would like to give me some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. I want to hear it. My email is jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's jewelrygin20@gmail.com. You can put comments on the library Facebook page. That's facebook.com/DeKalb Library. That's facebook.com/DeKalb Or you can put comments and pictures, because I'd love to see what you make, on the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/DeKalb Library. You can also send pictures to the email. I would love to see them. And please remember always that these are free to you. They are sponsored by the library. They will be out here, from what I understand, in perpetuity on YouTube. So I hope you enjoy them. And until next time, please have a great, great week wherever you are in it. A wonderful weekend, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.